Mahalingam on. Yeah, Meghal bhai, we have Mr. Mahalingam from ECGC, who is the branch head. So, Mr. Mahalingam, can we start in the meantime?
Yeah. We'll do it.
Welcome, Mr. Mahalingam. It is nice having you today for educating our members. And now Ms. Jyotika, she'll be taking over and going ahead with the webinar.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Meghal bhai. I would like to thank everybody who has joined the webinar today. To start with, I would like to welcome our President Kamlesh bhai, our speakers. The topic of webinar today is to cover the risk involved in exports, be it commercial or political. So before we start, I would like to speak a little about the awareness of FPME, which is awareness of FPME. The term is coined to understand, to make FPME strong, to make our voice felt in the industry, to grow our members by opening chapters in Delhi and Chennai, and also to ensure that we have a stand in the regulatory bodies. I would also now like to introduce Mr. Mahalingam, who is the branch head of ECGC Bandra BKC branch. I would invite him to speak a few words for us.
Okay, good afternoon. It is, first of all, I should thank FPME for arranging this webinar, and also thank Ketan Modi, who has coordinated with FPME for this webinar. The purpose of this webinar is that, see,
Mr. Mahalingam, you have gone on mute. Mr. Mahalingam, can you please unmute yourself?
okay, lot of people would have already there in the export, or some would have already started or thinking of doing export. See, like in any other business, in export there are a lot of risk involved. Right from you are making a shipment till you get your payments realized. See, your hard-earned money, it should not happen that when you export some commodity, you get stuck and the buyer is not making a payment. Your effort, everything goes in futile. And as everybody knows that today export market is not a what you call profitable one. Everybody would be making it at a 5% or less than that margin. So if one particular shipment gets stuck, then entire your effort or entire profit which you are going to earn through export will get eroded. So people, first point. Second point, many of you may not be able to know whether the buyer has got a good a sound position, or whether he will be able to make a payment in time. All other intricacies will not be known. Today, getting an order is very simple. Today, you may be knowing it. Everybody gets an email. I have got a huge amount of money lying in my bank account. I would like to have a business deal. Like this, around n number of mails are coming every day, and we know these are all fake emails. Nobody would like to go and venture into it, trying that let me get $1 lakh from them with the business thing. And similarly, apart from this type of things, we have other issues also, like today cybercrime is one of the important major risk involved. See, after doing all these things, somebody will hack your mail and send you a mail to the buyer, transfer this money. So that also is a bigger risk involved. So there is lots of internal risk till you get the money realized in foreign currency in India is involved. May not be all the risk can be covered due to the type of risk or the nature of the risk. Some of the risk you can mitigate it, and as you know, ECGC, one of the pioneer institution working under the Ministry of Commerce with guidance of no loss, no basis, no loss, no profit basis. So we try to help the exporters by giving a protection to the credit which they are extending, or even some, depending on the transactions, other type of risk also are being covered. In this context, Mr. Ketan has requested me to discuss, to address the participants so that they will come to know what type of risk we cover, what how they can take a benefit out of this. He has requested me, and I have agreed. And my request is today is that I have with me Mr. Pawan Kumar Burman, who is a senior manager, and also I have my another madam, Vandana Gavnalkar. She is a AGM. So my team of people will be there, and Mr. Pawan Kumar Burman will be giving you a presentation on what are all the products, different type of products are available, and you can go through the, you can just go through the presentation what he is going to make it. After that, in between also, if you have any doubt, you can ask him. After that, we will have a question and answer session. So whatever doubts, do not take it as a small doubt or big doubt. Even a single doubt, whatever you are having, you get it here. So you will be in a position to, I will be sitting here, and wherever it is there, I will clarify your doubt, so that my request is that please take this webinar as an opportunity, and we want your business to grow, so that with the assistance of ECGC, your business will grow. And sometime, let us see, even I will tell you a live example. Today, Reliance, everybody talk about all over the world. Nobody knows that around during the year 1967 or 1968, I was only even 2 years old. My previous people were telling, the chairman of that Reliance, Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani, used to visit our office. He started in a small way export. Today they are the number one exporter and number one business in India. So no one is small or no one is big. So no doubt, many of you in future, in another 10 years time, you can also become one among the top business exporters or top businessmen from India. So I request all the participants, all the exporters, to take full benefit out of this products or this webinar. And any doubt, any clarification, we also give the details of our contact number and email IDs. You can contact us. We will help you out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes. Can we, is Mr. Burman here?
Yeah, Jyotika Ben, can I know the name again?
Mr. Burman, Pawan Burman.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one who will be taking the presentation. So I guess they are setting up there.
Okay. Is he already in the meeting?
No, the ECGC thumbnail is muted and the video is off. So I guess he is setting it up right now. Let us wait for them.
Okay.
Yes. So we have Mr.
Hello.
Pawan Burman. Hello. Mr. Pawan, welcome
Yeah,
to the
good
webinar.
afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome, Mr. Burman. I would like to introduce Mr. Pawan Burman. He has overall 15 years of experience in the field of export credit insurance. He has been assisting the credit team of Oman and into the service of improvement and product redesigning. I would like him to take the webinar ahead. We will have a small question and answer session after the webinar. Mr. Pawan, I would like you to carry on with the webinar.
Yeah, thank you. Take minute, slides, so, Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We can
sir.
Am
hear
I
you.
audible?
Yes, you're audible.
नहीं आ रहा आवाज ना? Hello. Hello.
Yes, Pawanji, you are audible. Please go ahead with the presentation, please. Mr. Pawan, can you hear us?
Hello.
Pawanji, you are audible. Please.
Hello. हेलो नो आवाज आ रही है मेरी कोई कुछ बोले नहीं तो बोलिएगा तब ना
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Sir, we can hear you.
Carry on, sir. Carry on. We can hear you easily. Come on.
Yes, so I think many of you might be aware of ECGC's presence. So, but still, it's our duty and pleasure to tell something about ECGC's how we started the beginning of ECGC, and then we will also take you through the various product which is available for our exporters, and specifically to your sector also, what are the products which will be more suitable for you. Will also be taken care in the presentation. So as I said, my DGM PM sir, he has already said about ECGC's how we come up and how we have grown. So I will not take much of your time on those things, but like these things I think sir has already taken care. So network, I think you might be from different parts of India. So our network is from all over India, from north to south, east to west. So our request would be, wherever you are, please try to approach the nearest branch so that the service delivery would be easy. And for you also, to contact point and all other, for all practical purpose, you will also have better service. So before moving towards, the product and other things, broadly, we have tried to put something which, how ECGC is going to help you, because some of you might be holding our policies, but many of you may not be aware of ECGC, and especially what are the advantages of holding ECGC's policy. So let me start with the points like mitigating the financial risk, the most important factor, because as in international trade, there are multiple risks are there. We categorize it commercial and political risk. So that risk is largely mitigated by ECGC's policy cover. So it also improves your cash flow in case of, if there is a non-payment, you may have cash flows problem situation. So that time ECGC will be a very handy tool. Then the third one is buyer selection. as sir was discussing about, you may get multiple buyers requests, but which buyer you should really focus upon. Here ECGC is going to help you greatly, because we have almost 5 lakhs buyers data in our database, plus almost 2 lakhs buyers are active in our system. So whenever we are getting any request from the policyholders, we underwrite the buyers once again, literally in all the cases. So here also we are a big help to our exporters community. Third one is intelligent credit decision. If we are ready to cover the risk on, say for that matter, on DA terms, or sometimes we say not DA, DP. So there you will be also change your terms of payment, and in that way you will be better informed supplier. So that is also one support you are getting by taking ECC's policy. Then you can look for new market with the support of ECGC. Some of the untapped market, African markets, or even Latin American markets are also there. Many of the exporters are not very keen to go those places, but let me tell you, let us assure you that we are there also. We are there to also to support you for exporting to those countries. Then these are the first 5 points which we have, which I made. It is basically directly supporting you. There are some indirect supports are also there. If you are availing ECGC's policy, those indirect supports are like, the moment you are taking ECGC's policy, bank also feel a level of comfort. If you are holding ECGC policy, they will be more interested to extend packing credit as well as post-shipment finance. Then in case of non-payment, sometimes the unpaid foreign exchange bills will be there, and you have to get it regularized, you have to get it write off. So if ECGC settle that claims, then it will be very easy. It becomes as good as you have received the payment from the buyer. So that in that way also ECGC is very helpful. And the last point we have mentioned about in case you are drawing any duty from Government of India, and the payment has not realized from the buyer, but ECGC has settled you the claim, you don't have to refund that drawback also. So broadly, I try to cover the advantage of holding ECGC's policy. Then definitely you will have something in your mind that what kind of risk are there, because this slide is basically focusing on that point, that in our policy, in export transactions, these are the risks which are basically there. It is some of the risks are very palpable, some of the risks are not very visible, but there are risks. There are risks beneath that transactions also. So let me start with DP, or okay, let me start with LC, because I have not mentioned advance payment, because as far as the credit risk is concerned, there is no risk in advance payment. So I have not taken that advance payment transactions. But let me start with LC transactions. Comparatively, it is less riskier, but there is a risk. So what kind of risk are there in LC transactions? So insolvency of the LC opening bank, that is always there. Any bank can become insolvent, even the best bank. We have seen in the past also. Same way, many of the banks, especially from the third world countries, they are defaulting. They are not able to honor the LCs on due dates. So that is there. And then discrepancies are very common in LC transactions. I think many of you might have experienced also. Now, second, in terms of risk, I am just going. So second is DP. So DP, ideally in DP transactions, the delivery of the goods will not be there, because without original set of documents, the buyer is not supposed to take the delivery of the goods, and he will not get the original set of documents without making payment. So technically, you are not parting with the goods with the buyer in this transaction, but sometimes it does not happen in that way. But basically, under DP, we are covering non-acceptance risk also, and non-acceptance, we call it repudiation risk. Then in that sequence, the third one comes to DA, documents against acceptance. You have offered 90 days, 30 days, 45 days, 120 days credit period. on due date, they have started making some kind of excuses, and finally they fail to make the payment, and you will be in trouble in case of non-payment. So ECGC is there also to support you in case of default or protected default by the buyer. Then OD transactions, one of the riskiest transactions is the OD transactions, where you are sending goods directly to the buyer. You are not routing your documents through the bank. So in this kind of transactions, there are risk factors increases many folds. So there also we are covering that risk also under our policies. In between, if you have any queries, question, please raise your hand and you can ask, so that then and there we can issue. But otherwise, in open session also, your questions are welcome in that session also. So line of business, broadly we are these are the line of business. We have short-term covers for exporters. We have short-term covers for banks, for MLT covers also is also there, and then certain coverage which is supported by Government of India. We are playing the role of an administrator kind of things in that kind of coverage. So I will not talk much about those cases. So this is broadly again our product design. So we have short-term cover, medium-term cover. Under short-term also declaration-based policy, exposure-based policy, one shipment, one policy, consignment export policy. For bank, we have individual as well as whole turnover cover. Risk covered, what kind of risk we are covering? So we are covering risk, namely commercial risk, from the buyer as well as the bank, default of the buyer, insolvency, repudiation, and for LC case, insolvency and default of the LC opening bank. Under political risk, because as you know that in international transactions, political risk is one of the element which will be there, that is not there in domestic transactions, but in international transactions it is there. So in political risk categories, war, civil war between the countries or among in the country itself, like in Afghanistan, current situation in Afghanistan is one of the good example. In the recent past, Myanmar was one of the example. Then one more very prevalent situation, very prevalent risk under political risk we are covering, that is transfer delay. It is very common in many of the countries. Presently, the recent addition in that line is Sri Lanka. Some of you might have heard about Sri Lanka's foreign exchange crisis. So that also we are covering under political risk. Apart from these two major things, there are certain other regions also where you may incur the loss due to political risk. In bank also, we are covering insolvency of the exporter and default of the exporter. Again, it is in the literature form, so I will skip these slides. This is an important slide, so you can please pay attention on this slide. It is basically, of course, before discussing on these slides, let me tell you, we are not covering any risk apart from the risk which we are covering. So there are n number of risks which we are not covering. So we have to focus what are the risks which we are covering. But still there are certain risks which exporters always feel that these risks may be covered by ECGC. So those risks we are trying to highlight this. These are the risks which we are not covering. Okay. So the losses where the commercial disputes, including quality disputes, are involved, those risks we are not covering. Then causes inherent of nature of goods, again a subtype of subtype of quality dispute only, that also we are not covering. Failure of buyer to obtain import authorizations, the goods has reached and buyer is not able to take the delivery of the goods due to his not holding import authorization from the country concerned, then in that case also ECGC is not going to help you. Then insolvency or failure of the agents, because there are main two parties are there in any sale contract, supplier and the buyer, but there are certain other players are also involved. We call them as agent. So like start with your bank. or foreign bank or the shipping company, if these or third person who is playing the role of an commission agent, because of their failure or default, the company, your company is incurring some loss, that also we are not going to cover. Then loss or damage to goods which can be covered by general insurance, that also we are not covering. Exchange rate fluctuation, you may incur certain loss due to exchange rate gain or appreciation or depreciation, that also we are not covering. And last but not the least, that failure on your part, if you have not fulfilled certain terms and conditions of the contract, and for that reason buyer is withholding the payment, that also we are not covering that kind of risk, that you have to take care. This is basically, how we underwrite the risk. As we said that the commercial risk part, here we are underwriting buyer's commercial risk. As far as the political risk is concerned, here we are underwriting country risk. So these are the broad parameters on which we are underwriting, we are assessing and underwriting the risk. So some of you might have always a complaint of, ECGC is taking time, they are taking too many days for credit limit. So these are the things, because see, credit limit is dependent on not only ECGC, it also depends upon the credit report on the buyer, then the worthiness of the buyer, whether they are credit worthy or not. So it takes time, and especially in pandemic time, it becomes more difficult for us to get report that easily. And sometimes reports are not complete, that those reports are incomplete also. So there it takes longer time in, to underwrite those risks. In country also, like finance, in buyer, financial of the buyer, industry look, business ability, transaction behavior, our experience with the buyer, and of course buyer specific approval list. If buyer has defaulted or for some reason we have placed the buyer in our specific approval list, then definitely we have our own system of underwriting that buyer. Same way, country underwriting, these are the broad parameters: economic risk evaluation of the country, political risk and evaluation of the country, economic and political trade relation with India, with that country, ECGC's experience with that country, experience of other ECAs, our counterpart in other countries, and of course the forecast also plays major role. Our country rating, as you know, that in the classification of 7 scale, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 and D. And there are other categories also, open cover categories. So we have around 220 countries which comes under open cover categories, and there are around 20 countries which is coming under RCC, restricted cover categories of country. Type of cover, this is a basket of our cover. So we have declaration, as we call it, a group of policies called declaration based policy, where you have to declare, like our SCR policy, export turnover policy, and small exporter policy are considered as declaration based policy. Then multiple MBEP, multi-buyer exposure policy, and then SBEP. These are the policies which are called exposure based policy, because here you don't have to declare each and every shipment. We are giving cover based on your exposure on the buyer. And there are certain other covers also, like consignment covers, and for services industry also we have some coverage. So I will not take much of your time on these things. This is SCR policy. SCR policy, the most popular policy and the oldest policy. It is there with us since 1957, and in today's time also, after 65 years of our existence, this policy is still relevant in the market. So many of you are holding this policy, and if you are not, then definitely it's going to help you in your exports capacity and exports enhancement in exports business. So the minimum premium, we call it 10,000 is the minimum premium. The policy is for 12 months, and percentage of cover under this policy is 90%. We are adding every year 5% no claim bonus under this policy. You have to pay premium on your turnover for the entire transactions, and monthly declaration option is there, and credit limit, DL, and all those things are there. Again, this is for our small exporters, whose turnover is up to 5 crore. We are instead of SCR, we are giving you small exporter policy. Here some additional benefits are there. Apart from the minimum premium under this policy is only 5,000, but certain advantage, certain plus points are there over SCR policy under this policy. Like the core percentage under this policy is 95% for commercial risk and 100% for political risk. Only policy where we are offering you 100% cover, just to support the small exporter. And then the remaining things are as similar to our SCR policy. Then one second. दिखता नहीं पता ना क्या पॉलिसी है। हाँ, उसको सेटिंग I think it is ETP policy. This is export turnover policies, basically for large exporters. For large exporters, say their turnover is around 40 to 50 crore onwards, and the important criteria under this policy is that you have to pay premium. Minimum 20 lakh is the eligibility criteria to avail this policy. So in a year, if the exporter is paying premium more than 20 lakhs, only those exporters are eligible to avail this cover. And here you will get certain additional benefits, like in terms of discretionary limit. In terms of discretionary limit, it is on the higher side. Same way, here you will, one second. Yeah, just small adjustment was required, so I called my IT team. So ETP policy, I was talking about the benefits of ETP policy. The additional benefit under ETP policy that you will get 20% discount under this policy. We call it turnover discount. Remaining things are more or less same as you are under SCR. Whatever benefits are there under ETP also, those benefits are available. And DL, as I said, DL you will get more DL under this policy. Specific shipment policy, this is for one shipment, one policy. If you want to test ECGC, or if you have got one order and you are really not sure about the buyer, so this policy is going to help you. This one shipment, one policy, you can see the presentation also. You have to submit proposal as well as the order copy along with this application form, and the cover is 80% under this policy, and the remaining things are one and same only. The specific buyer wise policy, this is also declaration based policy where one buyer or one bank you want to cover. You have multiple buyers, but you want to cover one buyer where you are not very comfortable with. So you can come for cover on that. Of course, we do not encourage this kind of cover, but as a government company, we are there to support. We have to support exporters even for one transactions or one buyer. So we have kept our door open for that kind of covers also. So here, one buyer on transaction basis, you have to pay premium on monthly basis, and the premium rates and all those things will be shared at the time of issue of the policy. This is MBEP, multi-buyer exposure policy. Again, this is basically for our large exporters whose turnover should not be less than 20 CR, and beyond that, it's up to you. So under MBEP policy, the beauty of this policy that here you don't have to come for credit limit on each and every buyer because we are giving you a blanket cover. A blanket cover of certain percentage of policy value will be the credit limit. We call it SLL, single loss limit. Is available. Same way, you don't have to declare each and every shipment. You don't have to take credit limit. You don't have to declare each and every shipment. And you don't have to worry about whether this buyer is good or bad. You will give you user ID password. You can verify whether the buyer is in our caution list or not. We call it buyer specific approval list. And if it is not, then you can negotiate with the buyer because the buyers are already covered. All buyers, new buyer, old buyers, all buyers are covered irrespective of his position up to the SLL level only. And same way, it is also applicable for bank case if you have taken cover for your bank. This policy is also for the period of 1 year, and cover percentage is 80% for normal MBEP, and we also increase under customized cover. We increase up to 90% also under this policy. The processing fee is 10,000 and premium rate is 3.25% on your policy value. We call it ALL, aggregate loss limit. We from our side demand it should not be less than 10% of insurable turnover. The policy value should not be less than 10% of insurable turnover. So whatever your turnover is, you can go as low as 10% of the insurable turnover, and in upper side it is your choice. You can, the more the policy value, the more the premium outgo would be there, but at the same time the cover on each buyer also will increase accordingly. For this policy, we have two categories. One is medium size exporters whose turnover is up more than 20 CR but less than 100 CR. And second category is MBEP large, where the turnover is more than 100 CR. The only difference between these two, medium and large, is under medium, we are giving you automatic limit of SLL up to 5% of the policy value, automatic one. And under large MBEP, it is up to 10% of your policy value. The remaining 5% under medium exporters, for medium exporters, will be subject to our approval. That is the only difference between mid-size MBEP and large-size MBEP. The remaining features are one and same for both the policies. Here also NCB and all those things are applicable. So this is a snapshot of MBEP policy basically. This is CSC MB policy. This I will not take much of your time because this may not be as suitable for you at this moment. This is again single buyer exposure policy. Here one buyer, one policy on your exposure base. So you may have a turnover of say 10 crore or 15 crore on buyer on a particular buyer, but your exposure at any point of time maybe 2 crore or 3 crore or 5 crore. So you don't have to pay premium on your entire turnover of 15 CR. You decide how much exposure you are going to take. So you can opt the policy on the same value, like your exposure, the highest amount outstanding during the year is going to be 2 crore or 3 crore. Better to stick your policy up to 3 crore. Accordingly, you have to pay premium on 3 crore. The premium rate chart also we have placed down below. As per the country classification, the premium rates are there. For A1 country, it is 1.35, and similarly A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. It is all the rates are there. This is again 1 year policy, and the cover percentage is 80%. Micro exporters policy, especially for tiny exporters who are just started their business. We have cover up to 1 crore cover is there, where the maximum exposure limit will be 15 lakhs. Single buyer limit will be 5 lakhs and one-time premium of 25,000. That also you can try. Other things like 80% cover is there, 12 months policy. This policy again I will skip because this will not be very helpful for you at this moment. Yeah. Now I will take you through our this particular slides, loss minimization, default and claim, because, and this is more applicable. One second. This is more applicable for the exporters who are already holding our policies. But of course, those who are planning to hold our policy, for them also it will be useful slides. So non-acceptance in what are the loss minimization steps? Apart from steps like, you know, sometimes buyer may seek some extension in due date or conversion of terms of payment. So these are the steps which it is also there in case of export transactions. But basically, the risk starts, you know, like once the goods has reached to the destination country and buyer has refused to accept the goods. So in that case, what are the steps you are supposed to take? So these are the steps you are supposed to take to minimize the loss, because the goods are still within your control, within your you know, reach. You can tell your shipping liners with the support of your forwarder that take the possession of the goods in their control and ship that goods to warehouse, or you can also you can also look for alternate buyer in those countries. So we call it resale transactions, or you can also try for re-import back to India. So whatever the cost you are going to incur for these kind of transactions, these kind of steps like resale or re-import, we are there to support you. Of course, you need to take approval also. We give certain relaxation in terms of loss, like up to 25%. You don't have to come to ECGC, but beyond that, we always advise to take our approval before going forward. Then, of course, one point I think I missed that point: submission of report of default or overdue. So the moment you are not getting payment and you have started feeling that buyer is not coming forward to make the payment. So in that situation, it is always advisable to submit your 205 form 205. We call it overdue statement or report of default, so that ECGC will restrict its liability further on this buyer. At the same time, we are going to advise you what are the steps which you are supposed to take in that situation. Like one of them or few of them we have noted here, like not to make further shipment the moment you have submitted report of default. We are always advised not to make further shipment, and in case it is very urgent, something we have already, the goods are ready and you can't hold those goods back to India because it will be of no use for other customer. So you take our approval before making further shipment to the same buyer. Then we also advise you to take debt collecting to recover your dues through DCAs and with the help of Indian missions, Indian embassies in those countries where buyer is situated. Then in case of insolvency case, we also advise you to approach the official liquidator administrator to lodge your claim so that your name will be in the list of creditors. And the last point, that the filing of claim, because the lodgement of claim is also very important. Sometimes you are renegotiating with the buyer for making payment, and in that course you are forgetting to submit the claim. You can negotiate for payment for recovery, but at the same time, within the prescribed time limit of 360 days from the due date, you should file the claim to ECGC so that your one of the compliances will be fulfilled by you. This is lodgement of claim and waiting period for claim. We call it waiting period or ascertainment of loss. So in case of default, there is always a question from exporter community that how much time ECGC will take for settlement of claim. So of course, on receipt of our required documents, we are supposed to clear the claim as soon as possible, but at the same time, there is a waiting period which is involved for settlement of claim. Like in case of default, it is 4 months from the due date. In case of repudiation, immediately after the loss is ascertained. In case of insolvency, 1 month from the date when the date is acknowledged. by the receivers, and claim has to file in the prescribed format, because sometimes you are there also we have not receiving the claims in the prescribed format. The documents, the second question is always there, that what are the documents ECGC asks. We are not asking anything beyond the transactions, like what are the things which is involved in the transactions, because we do not have system of surveyor or any kind of personal visits to your office. We are purely working on the basis of the documents which you are going to submit. So documents become very vital to process your claim. So these are the documents, the major documents which we are trying to highlight here: the contract copy, invoice, bill of lading, non-payment advice in case of direct documents, proof of delivery, or original unpaid bill of exchange. If you have noted, you have protested and noted the bill, so we ask for protest note also. Then your correspondence with original buyer, very important. We always advise our customers, please do make your correspondence through mails also, because phone calls and WhatsApp calls is not going to be there. You can't preserve those proof of those conversations. So we always advise, please make some mail communication also. Then correspondence for recovery actions. What are the recovery actions you have initiated? That also required. You have to submit those proof. Then in case of declaration based policy, this statement of 2 years of exports to all your buyers that we call for, and these documents has to be certified from your bank. Recovery, these are the recovery steps. Largely we are depending on these method to recover your dues. So debt collecting agency, very helpful, very effective also in the current situation, because you won't be able to travel to those countries and you don't know the local laws. So we have empaneled DCAs, and we have
Mr. Pawan, please unmute yourself. Mr. Pawan, we can't hear you.
Mr. Pawan?
hello.
Yes,
we
carry
can
on,
hear you
please.
now.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Pawan,
Am
we
I
can hear
audible?
you. Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Hello.
Mr. Pawan, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Hello.
Hello?
Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
हेलो. हाँ, तो आप उसमें बोलिएगा तब ना क्लियर होगा. एनीवे, ओके, या. So debt collecting agencies are very effective in present days to recover your dues. And I was telling about success fee. So they will charge you only in case they are able to recover. No recovery, no fee. If there is a recovery, then only they are going to charge you. And one very interesting fact about those charges also, like we are settling, we are compensating, we are indemnifying those losses also towards your debt collecting agents. Like suppose there is a agreement between you and DCA of 80 and 20% ratio, the success fee is 20%, so the loss of 20% will be compensated by ECGC up to the percentage of cover applicable under the policy, of course subject to the claim. Otherwise the claim should be payable. That condition is always there. Then legal action also, especially for large value claims, we always insist for legal action also. These are the common lapses. We will be sharing you, the booklet, the written format also we will be sharing instead of reading here, because I think the time is approaching. These are the major causes of loss. Do's and don'ts, we will be sharing separately, do's and don'ts. This is again, you are well aware of these things. This one slide, if you are, sometimes you also approach private players. So the features of ECGC policy is much better than those private players. So just for your comparison purpose, we have put this slide. That's all for us as far as the presentation is concerned, but the house is open for you. And I think I will request my DGM branch manager to take the central stage so that he will. Okay, sir is telling me to you. Okay, he's here only, but anyway, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pawan. That was a wonderful presentation. I understand. I hope our members have benefited from the presentation. I would now request our members, if in case they have any questions, please share your questions. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Am I audible?
So members can unmute themselves and ask questions.
Yes, they can.
Hi, I would like to ask a couple of maybe only any question after question, maybe merchant export
आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
I would like to ask questions.
नहीं आ रही है आवाज. नहीं, स्पीकर ऑन है हमारा ना. एक मिनट.
Yeah, whoever wants to ask a question, can you just raise your hands?
ऑन है. एक सेकंड.
Okay, Piyush bhai, go ahead and ask your question.
सुनाई नहीं दे रहा. हाँ, बोले हमें कुछ भी सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
So
right.
my
Pawan Kumar is still not.
क्या है मतलब
audible.
ईयरफोन बाकी हमारे
He is not
3
able to hear
मेंबर्स
you.
हैं ना, तो हमें मतलब.
Mr. Pawan Kumar, are you able to hear me?
1 second, speaker यहाँ पर
Maybe
आइए.
meanwhile, sir, you can type in the chat
ये
box.
वाले को ऊपर करिए जरा.
The query you can type it in the chat box.
हाँ, यहाँ स्पीकर पे आइए. ये हाँ, इसको ऑन करिए इसको. हाँ, ये तो साउंड दिख रहा है. ठीक है. हेलो. Now somebody to speak means
Are you
to say something.
are you able to hear us, Pawan ji? Hello, Pawan ji, are you able to hear us?
I think it at least on this one Zoom we are not able to hear you.
Some IT issue at your end, because we are able to very clearly hear you.
That's why whenever. Where is Sankalp?
Ketan bhai, can they type the message in the chat box and we can you can read it out to him?
Not sure if that would be everybody would be able to do that. If they would be able to type out and come back to us. It would be a little difficult, I suppose.
At least we are able to hear them. So at
Yes,
least
I told him that we are able to very clearly hear, but looks like some issue at their end. They are not able to hear us.
So at least they can read the questions in the chat box and they can start replying. Okay.
Pawan ji, able to hear us?
No, ये वाला भी बढ़ाइए. यहाँ 1 मिनट. हाँ, बढ़ाइए जरा ये वाले को. हाँ, बोलिए अभी आप लोग जरा.
हाँ, Pawan ji, can you hear us?
Yes. Now it's.
Yes. Now I think they are able to hear us. So one by one, members can ask their questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Piyush bhai, you are.
Yes.
You are available?
Yes, I am available.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Pawan Kumar, for this presentation and enlightening us.
unfortunately, I joined midway, so I'm not very sure whether this issue has been mentioned by you, or this particular point is regarding the cyber crime.
Sir, as I think you might have missed the slide that there are multiple risks. Cybercrime is one of the risks which we are not.
Yeah,
which
you
we are
cannot
not
cover.
covering, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Talking about ECGC.
Hello.
Yes, next question, please.
Yeah, you
Jyotika
can
ji,
unmute
if you can.
yourself and ask.
Nimish bhai, I think there's a question from you. Mr. Nimish Thakkar, do we have him here?
Yeah, so a couple of questions that we wanted to ask. How many days would it take for a settlement to complete the entire process? And in situations, or what kind of situations can we expect where 100% settlement can be done?
Guarantee Corporation करके company
You are talking about the claim?
Yes, indeed.
Claim.
Sir,
as I said that
ask about, because we have encountered this
after the normal waiting period, the claim
that we don't cover
claim is matured and claim can be settled only on receipt of your documents. Mainly, see, most of the time we are not delaying due to our delay on our part is basically due to the clarification and documents we call from the exporter. So that is the reason we delay it, and it get delayed. Otherwise, from our side, it will be settled as soon as possible.
So what is the tentative turnaround time for a settlement period? What is an average turnaround time?
The average time, you can say maximum 2-month time.
Okay. And the second question, with regards to claim and settlement, can we expect 100% value coming in?
Yeah, 100% at in the in small exporter policy, especially which is designed for our small exporters. There we are covering 100% risk for political risk. The risk which is political in nature, commercial risk 95%, only under small exporter policy. For all other policies, either it is 90% or 80%.
You mean those exporters whose export value is less than 5 crore?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Turnover, not export value. Sorry, sir. Turnover in a year less than 5 CR shall be considered as a small exporter policy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, next question, please.
Next question is from Shailesh bhai. Shailesh bhai, you're there? Okay. Then Mr. Rohit Kevadia, there's a question from you.
Kapin, can you read the question on the chat box?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, Mr. Rohit is here.
Yes, hi sir. The question was that what is the process? Do we need to mention anything in the invoice to comply with the rules of ECGC of getting a payment in case of non-payments?
No. ECGC, see, earlier we used to say you don't have to disclose all the you do not have to mention anything on your export documents about ECGC. This is a separate contract and that is a separate contract. It is between buyer and seller. As far as the sale contract is concerned, it is between you and the buyer. As far as the insurance agreement, the credit insurance is concerned, it is between you and ECGC. So you don't have to, mingle here and there anything. You have to simply do whatever you are doing. Only thing, if there is a non-payment, apart from declaration and other things, as per the policy, the ECC will come into picture only if there is a non-payment by the buyer on the due date, or if you have heard something adverse about about the buyer, like insolvency or likely to be insolvent. In that case, you can approach ECC immediately also. But otherwise, you are free to write whatever you want to write. But ECGC is not required that all.
So the second question is that in case if I receive partial advance payment and there is a discrepancy between myself and the buyer on how he has received the goods. Suppose he says that he claims that the received goods are damaged. So how does ECGC play a role in that? In such discrepancy?
ECGC's role is very limited under such transactions, under such circumstances, purely because we are credit insurance company. We don't know who is right and who is wrong. So we always advise our exporters client, wherever there is a dispute in the nature of quality, quantity, or commercial dispute, please settle through the court, through the appropriate court. ECGC will come into picture if the court has given their decision in favor of you without telling you to enforce that decision on the buyer. We will settle the claim if there is any claim is there. But if there is purely a dispute and it is not resolved, then definitely we have to say sorry to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
Hi, I'm Sandeep Modi here. There is one question from one of the member here regarding merchandise trade. You say you are covering merchandise trade. So what is the procedure for getting merchandise trade also covered? Merchandise trade means when we are buying from China and selling to Africa, that kind of trade where we mean. So how ECGC covers that?
Yes. Yes, the merchanting trade, as you mentioned, third country exports, we are covering, but we are covering only under declaration-based policy. So you have to take credit limit on the buyer, number one, and number two, remaining things will be same as the direct exports. Whatever is applicable under direct exports is also applicable under this kind of transactions also. Of course, one risk which we mentioned about that transactions like re-import, resale, there in case of merchanting trade, it is difficult to support in that situation. But otherwise, like insolvency and default of the buyers, we are covering for merchanting trade also. That you have to tell in advance that you are planning to make merchanting or third country exports, and accordingly you will be issued the policy.
My next question, since I'm Joint Secretary FPME, I would like to have a discount in premium for our members. How ECGC can consider this? Because many of our members are catering to very small countries, and they are basically from traders background. So the premium rate which is varying around about, myself, I'm a member, one of my claim is under settlement at your office in Bandra, that I will talk to you later. Swapnil Chende from Thane is handling my claim. That is a different issue. But my point is the premium rates varies from 0.4% to 0.86%, and basically all our exporters are exporting majorly to Africa or say Middle East or small countries which are under category C plus. So the premium rate is very high for all our members. So how ECGC can help us in that case, because we have 200 members and many of them were not aware about ECGC. So thanks to Ratin sir and Suyash Insurance, Ketan sir, it was one of my major endeavor to have ECGC program with FPME. But now since we have joined, we have done your program. My point is how members can benefit. Once coverage is fine, but premium also you can think about it. about getting some discount to our members.
Yes, sir. So our advice would be, sir, you drop a mail to our marketing department. You mention all those points. The email ID, you can note it down. It is NMD. Sorry, marketing.
Can someone type on chat box? Can
otherwise
type on chat box, please?
I will. Sir, this is the email ID of our national marketing department. Please do write to this email ID and you put your concern there. Definitely they will look into this matter. And from our side, the appeal to you is, as you said, you have 200 members. So, and many of them are not holding our policies. Please try to convince them and tell them about the benefit of ECGC's policy, so that we will also have a good spread of risk in your sector also.
Sir, the mail ID is not reflecting here. The type
I have typed it, and I think 1 second.
You have to just check it to everyone.
Okay, sorry. It was not to all. It was to one individual person. So I got it was answered to one individual person. I see. To all, yeah.
I have put it in the chat again.
1 second. I am doing.
Got it. Marketing at ecgc.in.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Parag bhai.
Okay, Parag.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the informative discussion today. My point is, I just wanted to know, ECGC is basically a government organization, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So when the government is trying to, assist, and it's imperative for exports to happen, why does one have to separately go for an insurance policy? And why the government themselves cannot help directly in some format for exporters, big and small, on its own? You see, I have to come to you, do another legwork, paperwork, and when there is a issue, you would be there to support me, correct? But why can't it be applicable to all the exporters? As a matter of fact, it really doesn't make sense for me. Sense to me, when exports is such an important thing for the government, okay, and dollars coming in make a huge difference to India. Why can't ECGC directly cover each and every one of us? End of the day, yes, there are black sheep in the entire gamut of things, but not everybody intends to do so. So, can you please elaborate and how we could maybe look at this more holistically than individually having the pain of doing this paperwork and following up and so on and so forth? Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. We'll try to address your the issue you have raised. First time you said that we will about the universal cover kind of thing. So we will be more than happy to give cover them. Like we have been demanding to our ministry, to Government of India, that kindly make credit insurance mandatory for all the exporters, because in many of the exporting countries, you go to South Korea, one of the major exporting country, they have compulsory credit insurance, because as I said in my slides also, that these are the benefits of ECGC or any credit insurance for that matter. And especially a company like ECGC, who is backed by Government of India, if you are holding our policy, you will have multiple benefits, number one. Number two, regarding paperwork and as you said, the premium, the biggest burden of premium, we see any company for that matter, for their survival, we need we need a certain premium. Without that, the government will not be able to pump up the money every time. Government has mandated.
Government gives us duty drawbacks. Government gives us so many things for exports. Government can always incorporate a small portion of insurance and take care of this headache permanently, right? I mean, I find it really funny.
Parag, this question needs to be raised to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yes, exactly.
And, he will be the right person to help.
I'm taking up this issue because I don't understand why we should be wasting our time on insurance for headaches which are beyond our control. And if the government intends to support us, then Sandeepji, my point as a member should be the point should be raised.
Sir, I'm Malingam, DGM. I fully appreciate your concern, and I also wish that we should support everybody. My request is that you can write to the Commerce Minister and also the Prime Minister's office, because it is a policy decision to give anything all over for all exporters or anything. Government may announce in the budget, either BJP or Congress, depending on the political party, they will announce it, like Pradhan Mantri Niryat Yojana. They can say that for 1 rupee you can have an export, and it can be debited already to all the account. That is very good. Absolutely, I also advocate for it, sir.
Thank you so much.
In between, there was one in budget. In budget, they have announced something for ECGC premium, right? What was it for, or it was what with bankers?
That is not for ECGC premium, not for premium, sir. Actually, there are a lot of bankers have to pay huge amount of. We have to pay claim to another sector, to the bank, under the finance given to the bank for exporters. There are a lot of defaults and huge amount of claims are paid to us. And also some projects are being undertaken abroad. For that, lot of money has not come. So government said we will support ECGC to enhance payment of claim, because we do not, unless otherwise government gives us additional capital, we will not be able to pay it, because it is a purely government. So by opening up an office and without providing any suitable infrastructure and capital, we will not be able to survive. So to accommodate the pay more amount of money for the default which has been happening, as you all know, Nehru Modi's 5,000 crore or 9,000 crore banks are filed a claim with us, and how come we will be able to pay? For that, government has sanctioned some additional support capital.
Okay. So my one question is this: banks, we avail a packing credit from the bank, and bank also charges us, pre-shipment premium, and that is also cumbersome for us. So how can that be avoided?
One thing is this, sir.
Because it is a double whammy for us.
No. One thing is this. Today, you go and take a bank finance, and if you export, then only bank has to recover. There are around 90% of the cases where packing credit is given, export not takes place, and when bank asks for repayment of the finance, they will not be able to get back it. And moreover, packing credit is given at a lesser cost of 5% or 6% interest. That is the reason bank put a condition saying that you have to ECGC premium is there, and that is a different product which we have given to bankers, and nowhere we have specified banks to pay by debiting the exporter account, borrower account. It is a bank's arrangement with the exporters. Suppose you have taken a LIC policy for your children, LIC do not say your child has to pay the premium out of his pocket. His father pays or his mother pays, whoever pays it. So they are bothered about only the premium. So similarly, we never tell the banker debit and pay to you, pay to me. We have told that this product is available, you take it and the premium is this much. where from the bankers are debiting or paying out of their own pocket, we don't question it. It is their botheration. So you have to take it up with the matter with the bankers, because there are a lot of other bankers, Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank. They are all not taken a cover. Again, this cover is not compulsory. If somebody asks for it, I quote, this is the premium to be paid. And whether to take the policy or whether to avail the benefit, it is their request. Now also under export, I give an export credit policy. Lot of exporters are directly adding this amount in the contract. And buyers do not say that, why should I pay for your ECGC? Some people are adding it. So we don't tell you, you add that amount in your contract. That is a product which is given to the bank. You have to take it up with the banker. And if he is agreeing, they will not debit.
Oh.
Okay, but so accordingly, I will put a mail to you, and then can I get a reply on mail, because I have to fight with bank. Every month they put a ECGC premium on the packing credit.
Sir, one thing, I have given you a solution. You talk to bank. You are asking me, you give it in writing mail. Solution देने के वाले के ये एक कहानी है. जो वर्क देता है ना भगवान, उसका सिर पे ही आप हाथ लगाता है. मैं आप लोगों को तरीका बताता हूँ. आप बैंक से बात करो. आप हमसे ही पूछता है, लिख दे दो करके. ये वर्क दिया है, वो भगवान को ऊपर ही सिर लगाता है.
ठीक है. So we want certain assurance that we will continue with following up with your marketing and get the discount for our members. I think any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, please.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
The one question is, we are exporting into the Latin American countries. Few are direct to the customer or distributors, and few are through the subsidiaries. Now, when we inquire here regarding the ECGC for goods that we are dispersing to subsidiary, and which in turn supplying to the various government hospitals, they said that we cannot get the insurance on that. So, is it any kind of policy that we are sending, whether through subsidiary or to the distributor, everything get covered?
Sir, one thing, subsidiary means your own company.
Yes.
Your own company failure, we don't cover.
But sir, like for example,
let me complete, sir. See, you are exporting 100 rupees to your subsidiary and asking your subsidiary sells to XYZ in Latin American company, right? Now I will cover the failure of XYZ on whom you are selling it. And ये नहीं हो सकता है सर. XYZ आपका सब्सिडियरी को पे किया, आपका सब्सिडियरी में पैसा लेके भाग गया. मेरा ओन कंपनी है, आपका बेटा का आपको पैसा दिया, आपका बेटा ने पैसा लेके भाग गया. आप ये नहीं बोल सकता नहीं वो बेटा नहीं है करके.
Yes, now I got it. Now my next question is, for example, that was on tender, Now according to the tender, the prerequisite was we have to have a subsidiary or our own company in that country.
Okay.
Right now, to get that tender, we did form a subsidiary. So what we did, we exported from India to that subsidiary, and that subsidiary in turns distributed the goods to the as per the tender.
Okay.
Now we want insurance against the supply made to those buyers.
Yes, we can give.
So which is the policy for that, sir?
That is for consignment global entity policy.
Consignment
global entity policy.
Global entity policy. Okay. So now second question, just recently we discussed that banks are debiting us certain amounts every month in terms of ECGC cover. And if some of our buyer gets default, then can we approach the bank or it's just related to us?
Sir, there are two things, sir. Okay. One is the failure of you take the money 100 rupees from a bank. You tell to the bank saying that I will pay you 100 rupees. Okay. Now the question comes out when you can pay to the bank you have to export and get the money and pay to the bank.
Correct.
Fine. If you are not at all exporting, bank has given you 100 rupees.
Okay.
Where come bank will recover the money?
Okay.
That is covered under my another stream. It is as good as you are selling one product of under pharmaceutical for a Dolo 650 for a paracetamol, and you are also selling antibiotic. Those are two different products. You cannot combine together. Similarly, the product given to the bank is a product I am giving to the bank, and another product I am giving to the exporter. The product which I given to the bank is that if the Indian exporter take 100 rupees to the bank, if they do not prepay, then bank will come and claim with us. That is for that there is a premium we are charging to the bank. That they are debiting to the borrower, to the exporters, because if the export do not happen, back from the bank will pay. So they are charging to them. If the export, your buyer fails, then you have to, if you take the ECGC policy, it will get covered. The money is paid to the bank, it will get offset.
Sorry, sir. In last sentence, what did you say? I'm sorry.
If you are, once you have exported, the 100 rupees what you have taken becomes nullified. Then, if the buyer do not pay, then either you have to repay, or if you have taken an insurance company will pay.
So I have to take a different insurance for that, right?
That is called post-shipment. There are two stages. There are two stages. One is the pre-shipment, another is post-shipment. For pre-shipment, bankers take cover with us. For post-shipment, exporters take a policy with us. That's all.
Perfect, sir. And sir, you mentioned about, Pawan sir mentioned about this small multiple buyer exporter scheme.
Yeah.
So would that cover subsidiary or it would not consider?
No, that will not cover subsidiary. Subsidiary is a separate policy which is called consignment global entity policy.
Okay. So sir, in case we have to segregate all our export into the countries where we
direct export and subsidiary export.
So we'll have to go for two insurance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, sir. So I will have to inquire here with the consignment. I have to ask for the consignment global entity policy.
That's from your calling, sir. Your company in Mumbai, sir?
No, it's in Ahmedabad, sir.
Ahmedabad. See, I am also a regional manager in charge of Western region, and Ahmedabad comes under my control only. You go and talk to Mr. Amit Kumar or now Vikas Patkar. You talk to him. If he is not there, I will ask him to contact you. Your company name, sir?
The company name is Caritas Healthcare Private Limited. Caritas Healthcare Private Limited. Yeah.
Okay, I will ask my person to contact you.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate.
Yeah.
Caritas Ketan Bhai, na?
Yeah, correct.
Ketan Bhai, is Ketan Bhai is here?
No, Sarad here. Who's this?
Okay. I think if it is done, then we can go ahead with Thanksgiving session. Jyotika, Apurva.
Anybody has any other questions, please? Any members?
Hello.
I
If
think
anybody
we
has
should check the chat box. We have not checked the chat box. Have we covered all the questions in the chat box, please?
There is one question, whether export of restricted goods are also covered under the policy. The rest all question we are covered from chat box. Yeah.
Sir, restricted goods means I do not understand. What is that?
Some Mr. Narendra, if he is available, he can ask that. What do you mean by restricted goods? I think he's not there.
When the goods are not permitted to be exported, then we can't give a cover.
So that no. If that goods is exported when we have a license from DGFT, then it is fine, na?
Yeah, it will be covered, sir.
It will be covered. When you have see, that's what it's very clear. When DGFT has approved, it should be covered. No issue.
Yeah.
Fine, Jyotika, Apurva, please take over and have a thanksgiving session, please.
Hello. Thank you, Sandeep Bhai. Jyotika Ben is not. She's not there. She had some work, and I'm on behalf of FPME and FPME team. We thank you very much for a lovely presentation, and hope our members have benefited too much out of it. And we'll expect a reply. Our team will also get back to you with our old issues and everything, and discuss the things. We thank you, Mr. Mahalingam and Mr. Burman, for the presentation, and also not to forget Ms. Shri Ratin Bhai and Ketan Bhai for organizing this for our FPME team.
Thank you, Miguel Bhai. Thank you, Miguel Bhai, and all the association members. And here, Miguel Bhai, I would like to say that any of our association members have any other questions and anything, they are most welcome to address to us, and we will definitely speak to Mr. Mahalingam and Mr. Burman and address all your queries and any other association which we can take this forward. We are always there for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalingam. Thank you, Mr. Burman. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Ketan bhai, can you share your contact details also in the chat?
Yes, I will do that. I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, FPME team, FPME events team, and admin team. Everyone has done this very well, and the attendance today was really awesome. 71 was the highest figure I've seen. Congrats, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay.